Al-Assad issues 2 decrees concerning the removal of unlawful buildings and exempting peasants from irrigation fines. An official source says the reports telecast by Al-Jazeera and Al-Arabiya about the murder of several political and security officials are groundless. The Third World Meeting of Wood Sculpture in Damascus is inaugurated with the participation of artists from 7 countries and 3 Syrian artists. Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. An official source affirmed that the reports of Al-Jazeera and Al-Arabiya TV channels about the assassination of a number of political and security officers were groundless. The officers are still carrying out their duties. Major General Hassan Turkmani, the assistant of the Vice President, affirmed that the reports of Al-Jazeera and Al-Arabiya were mere lies, showing both their bankruptcy and misleading misinformation.
The reports telecast by Al-Jazeera and Al-Arabiya are lies, showing the misinformation and the bankruptcy. I and my colleagues are safe and carrying out our duties. This propaganda has no foundation, and our people know that these are utter lies.
Assistant. Major General Dawood Rajha, Minister of Defense, asserted that such false reports reflect the bankruptcy and failure of the terrorist gangs and those who support them with money, weapons, and the media. The Minister of the Interior, General Mohammed Ibrahim al-Sha'ar, also affirmed that the reports telecast by Al-Jazeera and Al-Arabiya TV channels are completely false. Such campaigns of lies and fabrication through these suspicious channels.
All my colleagues are carrying out their duties in spite of the false fabrications which instigate bloodshed in Syria. The Syrian citizens hate these channels and their fabrications. These channels are usually overjoyed with the Syrian bloodshed. They show on their screens the remains of the victims of terrorism in Syrian cities. These channels like to see the targeting of the Syrian citizens to death, destruction, and terrorist crimes.
In Aleppo, an armed terrorist group opened fire on a car of a businessman, killing 3 members of his family and injuring him and another on Al-Hamadaniya highway. A source in the government said that 3 terrorists in a black Kia opened fire on the car of businessman Abdul Halim Bataihi, killing his wife Wafa Isa, 37, his daughter Fatima, 14, and his son Ibrahim, 12. The source added that Mr. Bataihi, a porcelain factory owner, and his daughter Buthaina was severely injured. The Syrian Human Rights Network condemned the terrorist attack that targeted Ghazi Ayyash neighborhood in Deir ez-Zor, affirming that it comes in the context of the conspiracy against Syria. In a statement, the network said that the terrorist attack bears the hallmarks of Al-Qaeda, which proves the link between the opposition policies and the goals of this terrorist organization in the region. The network said that Syria has offered necessary facilitations for making the mission of the UN envoy to Syria, Kofi Annan, a success, calling for holding national dialogue that comprises all political and social powers. The Syrian Observatory for Victims of Violence and Terrorism condemned the terrorist blast and held Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar fully responsible for each drop of Syrian blood. Earlier, a booby-trapped car blew up yesterday morning, claiming the lives of 9 at Masakin Ghazi Ayyash neighborhood in Deir ez-Zor city. The terrorist blast caused big damages to houses and facilities surrounding the site. The suicide bomber drove the booby-trapped car into the building of a public establishment, causing the death of 9 civilians and the guards and injuring 100 others, some of them seriously, including a 4-year-old child and a 26-year-old woman. The terrorist bombing caused cracks in the buildings, which are within 100 meters distance from the bombing site. The blast left a hole with 5 meters radius and a 2-meter depth. The explosives used in the bombing are estimated at 1,000 kilograms. A team from the UN observers visited the site of the bombing. The Foreign and Expatriates Ministry said the sanctions imposed on Syria, which have exceeded 58 packages, violate the basic principles of the human rights system in the world, describing the stances of countries which have imposed the sanctions as characterized by hypocrisy, using human rights as a cover to interfere in other countries' affairs and impose their control over them. It said that the Syrian people have been twice the victim of the armed terrorist groups, once through the direct killing operations and again through the sanctions imposed by the countries which are funding, backing and hosting these groups. The ministry added that these sanctions also violate the right to freedom of opinions and expression and the right to development, work, food and health. The Turkish Admiral Turkur Artuk published an article on the Turkish website of Oslo Sol Bakish in which he asserted that Erdogan's government was exporting terrorism to the neighboring countries like Syria, Iran and Iraq. He pointed out that the Syrian people are fully aware of the support given by Erdogan's government to the armed opposition. The policies of this government do not serve Turkey's interests in the Middle East. The Admiral added that the US was bent on disrupting stability and creating chaos in Syria in order to destroy the axis of resistance it represents. He asserted that Erdogan's government supported war on Syria through the utilization of the military bases in Turkey, where terrorists are being trained and given logistics support and intelligence information. Spokesman of the UN envoy to Syria, Kofi Annan, Ahmed Fawzi, said Annan earlier announced that there is a third factor in Syria which cannot be country verified by the UN, but it is working on that. Fawzi was speaking at a press conference in Geneva a day after UN Secretary General made statements about Al-Qaeda's responsibility for twin terrorist bombings which took place in Al-Qazzaz region in Damascus. The spokesman revealed that Annan is considering an invitation to visit Syria soon and that a deputy of the UN envoy also intends to head to Syria. Fawzi renewed call on all the parties in Syria to halt all kinds of violence and start political dialogue, noting that Annan's plan is the only currently proposed plan to resolve the crisis in Syria. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said in a press conference that he believed Al-Qaeda was responsible for 2 suicide car bombings in Al-Qazzaz region in Damascus on May the 10th. United Nations Under-Secretary General for Peacekeeping Operations Hero Latsu stressed that the process of deploying military and civil observers in Syria has been completed, pointing out that the process was completed quickly in an unprecedented way in UN history. In a press statement, Latsu said that he is contacting officials in the Syrian government, adding that he met a number of the observers who are being trained before they start working on the ground.
I am now going to start my contacts with the officials of the government of Syria. In the meantime, in the course of this morning, I have been briefed by the mission on all aspects of the work of UNSMIS here. As you know, we are reaching complete deployment of the military observers and also of the civilian component of the mission. A lot of work has been going into this. We have done this at a speed which is unprecedented in the history of the United Nations. It is a process that will be continuing with the support of all those concerned in order, first and foremost, to achieve this cessation and, in the first time, confirm the reduction of the violence.
A team of international observers visited Douma and Harasta in the Damascus countryside. Another team visited the quarters of Al-Hamza Towers in the town of Salamiya and the governorate of Hama. A third team visited the quarters of Al-Khalidiyya, Al-Qusur and the area of Tal-Kalakh in the governorate of Homs. Mr. Hassan Saklawi, the information official in the UN Observer Mission in Syria, said the number of observers has reached 276 from 38 countries. They are deployed in the governorates of the Damascus countryside, Homs, Hama, Idleb, Deir ez-Zor and Daraa. The number of international employees in the mission has reached 61 from 54 countries. Today, the Ministry of Culture inaugurated the International Damascus Meeting of Wood Sculpture.
A press conference was held by world artists from Belgium, Bulgaria, Portugal, Russia, China, the Ukraine and Albania. Mr. Aktham Abdelhamid, Director of Fine Arts in the Ministry, said the meeting was intended to activate the cultural and artistic arenas in Syria.
This symposium, the third symposium, sculpture international in the wood. So we invite 10 artists from different cities in the world. 3 artists from Syria and 7 artists from different countries. Example, China, and, Russia, and Portugal, and Albania, and Ukraine, and many cities.
I'm really happy for this participation. I feel it's important at the moment to come here and make my art and let one work for Syria.
I really like to come here. When Actam asked me a few months ago to participate on the symposium, I didn't hesitate. For I know Syrian artists. I worked in other parts of the world already to get a Syrian artist. So the reason why I didn't hesitate is because they have the same, Syrian artists have the same power that they put in their art, like we Belgians have.
I am from Albania, but I live in Italy, and I am here for the second time. I was in Syria two years ago, and the meaning of my work is to working about the Arabic calligraphy. You know, I like the Arabic calligraphy, the fluid of the forms, the fluid of the harmony of the forms.
The meeting is joined by the students of the Institute of Practical Arts. This would promote their talents through meetings with international artists. At the conclusion of this meeting, certificates would be given to the participants at the end of this month. The meeting also aims to acquaint world artists with Syrian civilization. They will tour various archaeological and tourist sites. Next week, the meeting will include the first art tournament in Syria, announced by the UNESCO on the stage of the Damascus Citadel.
This brings our bulletin to a close. For more news, log on to our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to the economic news with Khalid Saqbani. God bless you all.